Welcome to MTT's presentation on the new face of tablet travel apps and emerging tablet strategies for airlines. Thanks for joining us today, and just before we get into the core of the presentation, just want to cover some logistics, and the first one is around questions. And if you have any questions during the presentation, can you submit them through the text box, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So at any point during the presentation, you can type questions in there, and we'll cover them off. If for any reason you need to drop off the webinar, you will be able to kind of review the full webinar with slides and audio at a later point, and we can distribute that link. Short introduction to myself and who I am. I'm the Director of Consulting at MTT. I've been working in travel for about 15 years at this stage, particularly in the online space, initially on internet booking engines and connectivity back in the late 90s, and since about 2005 on mobile, and focused entirely on mobile and travel. So that's my background, and you know, companies such as Sabre, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. Just in terms of a high-level agenda for today and what we'd like to cover off, a very quick run through some market data around tablet and what's happening in tablet, and that includes some MTT research that we've done. I'll talk a bit about what's unique about the tablet channel. Why is it different from your smartphone? Why is it different from your PC website, and what you need to do there? A quick review of what other airlines are doing and who's kind of doing relatively good implementations on tablet at the moment that you might want to review and emulate and consider in your own strategy. And then, assuming you're looking to do something on tablet, what are the kind of options for you? Where can you go from where you are now? And finally, to wrap up, we'll cover off some of the kind of more future gazing in terms of where we think tablet is heading. Maybe a quick overview before we get into the tablet-specific stuff of MTT, the company, just to give you an idea of our credentials, I guess, as a company. As I said, the company's been around since about 2005. We're based in sunny Dublin at the moment, which is nice. The company has worked with airlines, hotels, travel agencies, implementing just mobile solutions and just travel, as I said. And it's a unique kind of team of people, everything from the initial design, development, wireframing of a solution right through to actually implementing it and rolling it out and hosting it. And we've worked with such customers as EasyJet, and we develop all of their very successful mobile solutions, Transavia in Holland and France, Jetstar in Asia Pacific, and then most recently we've launched solutions for LAN and TAM in South America, their mobile applications, and just in time for the recent World Cup, and BCD Travel, which is one of the largest travel companies in the world and the third largest travel management company in the world, and we launched an itinerary solution for them. So that's just an idea of MTT and who we are and our background in mobile and travel, and why we're kind of I suppose qualified to speak on tablets and where it's going. So just then to get into the core of the presentation and some market data about tablets, and I guess the first thing is just to talk about the beginnings, because I think people think maybe that it's a very recent phenomenon, and in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. So back in 2000, Bill Gates was demoing a tablet PC, very different to what we know as tablets today. Nokia, for those of you who remember them, had early ventures in tablets again with kind of devices that are similar enough, I guess, to what we see as tablets today. But it really didn't take off, I guess, until the iPad was introduced in 2010, and that's really for most people the kind of start of mainstream tablet usage, and it wasn't viewed as such at the time. At the time, I think some of the press was quite negative about the iPad, and it was just a big iPad Touch. Bus or iPod Touch, but the iPad has proven to be a real game changer in that kind of segment and has really kind of defined what tablets are all about. In terms of tablets and PCs, there's hard data there that tablets are outselling PCs worldwide, and that's not just desktop PCs, that's PCs and laptops. People primarily these days are buying tablets first, and occasionally laptops or desktop machines. So for many people, they have obviously a smartphone, but they won't have a desktop, they won't have a laptop, they'll have a tablet, and that's their large format device, I guess, in terms of if they want to do something that requires a bit more work, requires a bit more input, they will probably use their tablet. And for an airline or for a travel agency, this is definitely something you need to consider, because your customers now are more and more going to be using tablets as their main device, and laptops and smartphones coming second. So that's definitely something to kind of factor into your forward planning. Some research that MTT has done in terms of research in the US and EMEA. What devices are people normally taking with them when they're traveling on business? So again, smartphone is kind of the main device that people take with them. Laptop, obviously, again, for business travelers is probably very important, but you see a very high percentage of people are taking tablets with them. And depending on your reason for travel and what you think you're going to use it for, tablets can be a lot more practical as a device in that, they're a lot lighter. If you have a tablet with keyboard or some sort of an external keyboard, it's going to be enough to meet the need of taking notes of light documents, that kind of stuff. So more and more you'll find people are traveling with just a tablet and a smartphone, and then they don't kind of need anything more. Again, from that same research in terms of what people are doing with it, there's kind of a mix there between work, leisure, but pretty much people are crossing boundaries there, and they're using both, using their tablet for both leisure and work-related activities. Very small amount of business travelers don't take some form of tablet. And again, just in terms of the expectation, and again, what your customers are expecting from their travel providers, there's an expectation there that there will be a tablet application available, and that if they are going to interact with you on their tablet, they do want a native application. And we talk a bit more about that later on in the presentation in terms of, well, what are the ways to get onto tablet and to engage with your customers, and what are the best ways, I suppose. Some data then from Google and Ipsos, just in terms of cross usage of devices for trip planning, and this is kind of a trend you'll see, and there's kind of stats out there in terms of the number of devices that a traveler might use throughout their travel journey, but it's quite a mix. I mean, people are hopping from device to device and using smartphone and then PC and then tablet, or tablet and then smartphone and then PC, and it's quite a mix there. So I guess you might say I'm seeing all my bookings coming in on my PC site, but there's a large percentage of those bookings that have started or were inspired by somebody looking at a fare sale on a tablet or researching a destination on a tablet. So it's kind of important that you can attribute correctly your transactions to the channel and split them out in terms of how much was involved in that particular channel. And then I guess just in terms of numbers and what airlines are actually seeing, you'll probably have data of your own in terms of if you go to your Google Analytics or your own analytics package for your website, you'll see lots and lots of travel traffic there. There are already lots and lots of people using their tablet to access your regular website. In terms of mobile, Lufthansa here have kind of stats where they say 30% of their traffic is coming from tablet. Their mobile traffic is coming from tablet, and Emirates, after they launched their kind of recent iPad application did come out and say that 20% of the visitors they were seeing to Emirates.com were coming in on an iPad, and that's not tablet, that's iPad. So again, to talk to the earlier point of iPad really dominating the segment, that is what we're seeing. So then just to talk a bit about kind of some of the differences and what is it that's different about tablets and how do they differ from your smartphone or your PC website, and some of the things you would need to factor into your planning when you're trying to see, well, what do we want to do for the tablet channel. I guess the first thing to figure out is, well, what do you consider tablets? And it used to be a kind of very clear delineation, and that you had your iPad at one end, and that was really, really big, and you had your iPhone and your Android phones down the other end, and those were a lot smaller, and it was kind of a very, very, very big gap between the two. With the introduction of some of the bigger devices, the Galaxy Notes, for example, even the new iPhone that's rumored to come out is going to be a lot bigger than the existing iPhones, so there's going to be at least a selection. There's this what's called the phablet, the half phone, half tablet category, which sits in between somehow a regular phone that you'd stick in your pocket and a full-on tablet that you might have in a briefcase or a large handbag. How you split them and what are they? I guess you probably want to look at the kind of usage. A Galaxy Note, for example, some people use as a phone typically. Some people use it more as a tablet, and it's really around usage rather than putting hard kind of, well, if it's above 7 centimeters or 7 inches, then it's definitely a tablet, because there's probably a clearer definition. The other thing you need to consider, or that people look at when they're looking at their tablet strategy or where they want to go with tablets is the usage patterns. And traditionally, and I say traditionally like it's a long time ago, it's only, I suppose, a year or two ago, there was a view that tablets were very much focused on discovery, inspiration, sitting on your couch at home type usage, that you're looking around, you're not necessarily doing something particular, but that's where tablets fitted in. And the smartphones were really focused on tasks, that you had to book a flight, you really wanted to check the status of an incoming flight, you wanted to check what gate you needed to go to, and that's what smartphones were for. And over time we've seen definitely a merge of those usage patterns. You can see phones now that are being used by users to browse a bit more, and similarly tablets are being used more and more for transactional services. In terms of time, I mean, there is a difference in terms of what people, how much time people spend on their devices depending on the type of device. So, tablets typically get a lot more usage if it is an app, and again we'll talk a bit later about the various approaches on app versus web, but app users or app tablet users typically stay on a site twice as long as mobile tablet users. On the web there isn't as much a difference as 6 to 5, so not a huge difference, but again it's something you want to consider, that if you're going down the tablet route, it does seem that apps are much more engaging for users. As I said there, transactions, we're definitely seeing tablets now a lot more, and tablet applications being a lot more used for transactional service. There definitely still is a big focus on discovery and inspiration, but more and more we're seeing people saying, well, actually people are using their tablet to transact with us. And as I said earlier, your own stats will indicate that people are booking on their tablet on your regular website, so why not allow them that facility on a fully native application for tablets. The other things, I mean, you need to consider, I guess, when you're looking at your tablet strategy is kind of the ergonomics of it. Obviously, it's a different size of device, so this is a good example here in terms of AA and where they place a mobile boarding pass on a tablet. Has to kind of factor in the form factor, and physically how are you going to stick this device or this barcode under a scanner if the device is a few inches wide. Where a phone, obviously you can get the whole phone under there. They decided obviously the best thing to do is put a barcode in every corner, so you only have to stick the corner of the device under the scanner. And again, that's something you need to kind of think about when you're designing your tablet applications. The ergonomics and the kind of layout of a tablet are another thing you need to consider. Again, bigger device, people use it differently. The keyboard displays in different places, so you need to have a good think about, well, if I'm offering kind of users service on tablet, where I place my data so that it isn't obscured, so that it's in the typical orientation kind of works best. These kind of things need to be factored into your design. I guess the other thing that you need to think about is, well, it's a bigger device. It's giving you a big opportunity to engage in a much richer, much more visual way with your customers. So just as an example, I've taken a hotel application. This is a page on a hotel that's kind of displaying a list of hotels in Dublin, and that's what it looks like on a mobile device. So kind of small images. You have to scroll a bit. You have to kind of click out to view the hotels on a map. And that same page on a tablet application is completely different, and they've taken the opportunity to say, well, we have a lot more space here to play with. We can probably get all of the data in terms of the relevant data about the hotels on the screen, and we can display the map in the background. And that's making kind of full use of the space available to the kind of app designer, and really kind of engaging with the customer. Similar example, again, this is just looking at a specific hotel and looking at details about the hotel and pictures of the hotel. The same screen on a tablet application, expanded out all those images, so you can see straight away, well, here's the actual picture. I want to have a look at the room. I want to have a look at the swimming pool, and you can jump to that picture straight away, and still contains the relevant examples in terms of data and what the user needs to see. And those are two examples. I mean, it's not necessarily about obviously displaying hotels and what that looks like, but just to give you a feel for, well, if you're looking at designing for tablets, you really need to consider, okay, well, we've got a lot of opportunity here. We should do something a bit more engaging and a bit different on tablet. So just then to talk a bit about what other airlines are doing on tablet, and to kind of go through some of the kind of themes, I guess, rather than talk to specific applications one after the other. And I guess the first theme to look at is kind of destination marketing. And as I said earlier, tablets are obviously bigger screens, richer devices, and the usage pattern has been that, well, I'm not necessarily task-oriented, I want to kind of see what's available. So it's a great opportunity for airlines to pitch destinations and inspire people to travel, rather than necessarily just wait for them to say, look, I do want to go to India, and I'm going to look at it myself. That you can actually inspire that person to travel with rich media, video, great pictures, great descriptions, and be it just destinations, or destinations mixed with your route map and mixed with kind of typical pricing or sale pricing. You can really get a user involved and get a user playing with where that particular airline flies, where could they go, how much would it necessarily cost, what could they do when they got there, and get them thinking about their holiday. And again, as I said, this is a theme across a lot of airline apps to really pitch that destination, rather than let the user try to figure it out themselves. And obviously, once they've selected a destination, clicking through to a particular booking is kind of the next step. Product marketing, and if you've got premium product, be it business class, be it premium economy, that you can actually sell that, give the traveler an interactive tour of what they can do with your airline that's different from every other airline, and really kind of justify that price. And any kind of services, it doesn't have to be business travel, it can be services that are available in economy, can be pitched on tablet. And again, rich media, videos, images, all that kind of stuff to really sell the offering. And then, as I said earlier, kind of flight search and booking, and again, you've got a lot more space to play with on a tablet. Give the user the calendar view, give the user a histogram of kind of current prices or departure times. and really make it interactive for the user to say, well, okay, I know what I'm looking for, and I know what my price range is, or I know what my schedule needs to be. Make it easy for them to find the flights they need at the price they need, and book there and then. It's another good opportunity. And then finally, I guess, trip assistance, and this kind of talks to the transactional or the on-the-go nature of tablets, and that it's not just about kind of people sitting at home, sitting on the train. People are using it during their trip now. So being able to give the user a very kind of rich view, and this is a core Away on Business solution, a very rich view of the trip, where you're going, what's happening, expenses, flight delays, all this kind of stuff that you could give a user on their tablet as opposed to necessarily on their smartphone. So, assuming you're kind of interested in kind of rolling out something dedicated to your tablet channel, what are your options? Where can you go from here? And I guess there's kind of three main options. You can use your existing website or your existing mobile app and just say, well, I've built something for the web, or I've built something for a mobile device, mobile phone. You can have that on tablet. And that's kind of one option. Responsive web, where you kind of produce a website that responds to the size of the tablet, and that can be responsive from mobile to tablet, or from desktop to tablet, or across all three. And that is an option. And then the option that frankly that we would recommend if you're kind of looking at tablet and the numbers and seriously kind of tackling this growing channel, we would recommend kind of dedicated native application for tablets and really going after it in a very serious way. And there's pros and cons of each of these approaches. So your existing web solution there on the right, just presenting that to your tablets. Obviously, it hasn't been designed for tablets. It's designed for desktop. It's designed for mouse. It's designed for keyboard. It's designed for typically people kind of sitting down at their desk. Not a great experience. I mean, sure, it's easy to roll out, but it doesn't really kind of work very well with all the tablets that are out there. It doesn't get you in the App Store, or if you do some sort of wrapped solution, it gets you in the App Store, but it's a very kind of poor solution for the user because they have an expectation of a native app if they go to the App Store. So we wouldn't generally, again, recommend that, because you kind of really do need to design, and if you're seeing kind of large numbers of customers coming in on a tablet, you really should be considering, well, what is it they need, and doing something that meets their needs. Responsive and adaptive web solutions are kind of slightly better, I guess, than using your existing web solution. It's kind of tailoring either dynamically or at build time your website for a tablet. And that has the same kind of issue with App Store discoverability. So you can obviously wrap those responsive websites in a native wrapper and submit it to the App Store. If Apple approve that, which sometimes they won't because they want something unique in their App Store, you get an app in the store that really kind of disappoints users because they go in expecting to download a native application, and they get essentially a website, and they're going to go, well, that was a bit of a bait and switch. That's not what I expected. So you can get some very negative reactions from users in that, and you don't get to leverage then some of the device capabilities. So the kind of on-device storage, cameras, GPS, compasses, all the kind of things that you might want to use for navigation, for richer content, that kind of thing. So again, it will work, but from our perspective, it's probably not the way to go, given the growth of the tablet channel, given how important that channel is. And finally, what we do recommend is native applications and really going after the tablet channel in a serious way and kind of doing the right job for that channel. So to talk a bit about MTT product and if you do decide that kind of the native application is the route to go, and you want to kind of get started quickly, you don't want to have to kind of rebuild all of those kind of common components and common approaches that we mentioned already, then MTT have a product suite, set of kind of modules that will get you started essentially on a tablet with a very low risk and a kind of low time to market. And those are across kind of 4 different areas. One is the discovery inspiration. So again, as we saw earlier, a lot of airlines are doing this. It's a very kind of common approach across airlines. So it's a very good fit for a standard product rather than kind of innovating in something that everyone is pretty much doing, that you would buy in a product that will let you get started on this and load in your schedules and fares and allow users zoom in and out on maps and see destination content very easily. The trip planning module is kind of, again, focused on I suppose, the discovery inspiration side of things, but to allow users plan trips a bit easier, and particularly if you're planning for a group of people, that you can pull together some options, pull together some things to do, bundle that up into a trip, and then share that out with your friends, your colleagues, and say, well, this is where I'm thinking of going, these are the options, these are the flights, these are the times, that kind of thing. The Core on Business or Way on Business solution we mentioned is all about kind of itineraries on the go. MTT Concierge is an itinerary management product. So this is a product that syncs itineraries to the local device, so the guest always has a real-time version of the itinerary on their mobile device, and in this case on their tablet, where they get a kind of a richer view of the content on the tablet. So again, this is a view or a way to kind of meet that need in a very cost-effective, pre-built manner, and you don't have to kind of build all of this from scratch. And then finally, as we kind of mentioned, the booking is kind of very important, and again, it's what customers are doing. You see it on your website today. People are booking from tablets, and really doing something that kind of targets those users on mobile and kind of gets them engaged in terms of tablets and really using that space. So those are the kind of products, again, that if you want to get started quickly and get moving on tablets, that's what we would recommend. It's a very good way to get a native tablet application out the door very, very quickly. So then very shortly to talk about the kind of future of tablet, and we'll talk a bit about kind of some of the tech trends, but I guess the key thing to kind of say is that all of the research out there is kind of pointing to huge growth in tablet ownership. And if you're manufacturing PCs or laptops these days, there's a big concern about the viability of that business going forward. Tablets are becoming more and more powerful, more and more functional in terms of the kind of apps you can get on them and what you can do. And for more and more people, tablets will be more than enough in terms of computing capacity, and they don't need necessarily all of the kind of bells and whistles you might get on a laptop or a desktop machine, and they can get by with their tablet, which obviously is much preferable. Technically, there's a lot of changes happening. There's kind of convergence between tablets and laptops, better battery, better screens, flexibility, lighter. So tablets are just going to improve, and again, you'll see that from the versions of tablets that have come out over the last couple of years. Every version is lighter, smaller, thinner, better battery than the previous version. So, those two things definitely point to the kind of the future growth of tablet, and really that you as an airline, you should be kind of looking at this as kind of becoming one of the dominant channels in your online channel, and that's where users are going to come from. So that wraps up today's kind of presentation on tablet. As I said at the start, if there are questions, you can submit them now in the little text box, and we'll answer what's come up. If you want to get in contact with us after the fact, my contact details are there in terms of mobile, email, and LinkedIn is also an option, and we'll be happy to kind of answer any questions you might have using that method as well. So thank you for your time today, and I'll leave it open for questions now. We'll answer what comes through.